Hello, good morning, all of you. Welcome to Laksha Academy. Okay, this is the part 15 of chemical coordination and integration. In this part, we are going to learn one gland, that is adrenal gland. Very important gland. Okay, for NEET exam, it is very important. The topic is adrenal glands. Okay, how many adrenal glands do we have? We have a pair of adrenal glands. Where are they present? They are present located one on at the anterior part of each kidney and right kidney one on the left kidney. Okay, one pair of adrenal glands is present in the body of human being. Where are they located? That is, this is the location. One at the anterior part of each kidney. It is also called suprarenal. The word renal denotes word renal denotes kidney. You know, renal failure, renal artery, renal vein, renal calyces, renal pyramids. Okay, the word renal denotes kidney. Suprarenal glands. It is on the top of the kidney. Suprarenal gland. It is called suprarenal gland. It is also given in mock test papers. Adrenal gland is composed of two types of tissues. The peripheral tissue, you can see here, this is the peripheral tissue. This is the peripheral tissue. The peripheral tissue is called adrenal cortex. What do we call this? Peripheral ante anchulammat undedi. The peripheral tissue is called, which is outside, located outside, that is called adrenal cortex, which is mesodermal in origin. Very important one, mesodermal in origin. And adrenal medulla is ectodermal, like nervous tissue. It is a modified nervous tissue. This is okay. That's why nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin. Adrenal medulla is also ectodermal in origin. Okay, how many adrenal glands do we have? One pair. Where do we have? On the top of the each kidney we have one adrenal gland. It is also called suprarenal gland. It has a dual origin. Okay, like pituitary gland also has a dual origin. It also has a dual origin. Some part of it is formed from mesoderm. Okay, what is that part? Adrenal cortex. Some part of it is formed from the endoderm. What is that ectoderm? What is that adrenal medulla? Adrenal cortex, adrenal medulla, renal cortex, renal medulla, cerebral cortex, cerebral medulla. Okay, medulla is the inner part, cortex is the inner outer part. Let us first talk about this part. What is that adrenal cortex? Adrenal cortex is a peripheral tissue of adrenal gland. Okay, as we discussed here, peripheral tissue of the adrenal gland is called cortex. It is differentiated into three zones. I will show you here. Okay, this adrenal cortex. Okay, what is this one? This is the adrenal cortex part. Okay, this is the cortex part. Okay, if you see the cortex part here, okay, this cortex part is adrenal cortex, adrenal cortex, adrenal cortex. In this adrenal cortex part, okay, there are three zones are present, three regions are present. Okay, the adrenal cortex is the peripheral tissue of the adrenal gland. It is differentiated into three zones. The outer zone is called zona. You can remember with the sequence called adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex is divided into three zones. Adrenal cortex is divided into three zones. What are they? One is called a zona. Sorry. Okay, one is called zona. GFR, you can remember GFR. You already learned GFR in kidney lesson, glomerular filtration rate. Okay, zona. Okay, see here, zona glomerulosa. And look at the next one, zona F, okay, G, F, R, fasciculata, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Zona reticularis, GFR, from outside to inside the zones. Okay, what is the outer zone of adrenal cortex? Zona glomerulosa, fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Adrenal cortex is the peripheral tissue of the adrenal gland. This is the peripheral tissue of the adrenal gland. It is differentiated into three zones. What are the outer zone is called zona glomerulosa, middle one is called zona fasciculata, and the inner one is called zona reticularis. The trick here is GFR from outside to inside, RFG from inside to outside. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones. Adrenal cortex secretes many hormones called corticoids or steroid hormones. Corticoids. What do we call the hormones secreted by adrenal cortex? We call them, the hormones produced by this one are called corticoids. What are they? Cortex produce corticoids, or corticoids are otherwise called steroid hormones, or steroid hormones. Okay, these are the hormones produced by the adrenal cortex. Okay, this glomerulosa produce one type of corticoids. It produce one type of corticoids. It produce one type of corticoids. Mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, sex corticoids. Here, sex corticoids are produced by zona reticularis. Okay, adrenal gland. Okay, you can see here zona glomerulosa secretes mineralocorticoids. It secretes mineralocorticoids, regulate mineral balance in our blood. The chief mineralocorticoid is very important one, aldosterone. The chief glucocorticoid is cortisol. There are different glucocorticoids are the cortisone, corticosterone, and cortisol. Among these, the chief one is cortisol. What is the chief glucocorticoid? It regulates the glucose metabolism. They regulate the mineral balance. They stimulate the masculization. Okay, aldosterone. Let us see what is given here. Zona glomerulosa secretes mineralocorticoids called aldosterone as the chief mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone regulates the balance of water and electrolytes, minerals in the body. That's what is called mineralocorticoid. Maintains water and electrolyte balance in the body. Okay, you learned in the thyroxine hormone also does the same thing. Thyroxine hormone does the same thing. Thyroxine. Okay, aldosterone whose secretion is stimulated by angiotensin 2. You learned in kidney lesson. Aldosterone ప్రొడ్యూస్ కావాలంటే సెక్రెట్ కావాలంటే ఇది ఈ హార్మోన్ ఉండాలి. వాట్ ఈస్ దట్? యాంజియోటెన్సిన్, పవర్ఫుల్ వాసో కన్స్ట్రిక్టర్. Aldosterone whose secretion is stimulated by angiotensin 2 when blood pressure falls. Once you see RAS, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, RAS. Okay, this angiotensin 2 releases when the blood pressure falls and acts mainly on the renal tubules. This aldosterone hormone whose secretion is stimulated by angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 is produced when our BP falls. When BP decreases. It acts mainly on the renal tubules and stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water from the renal tubules. Sodium and water from the renal tubules, especially from the DCT, and excretion of potassium, K plus and phosphate ions. These are very important sentences. And thus aldosterone helps in maintenance of electrolyte and body fluid volume, BP, osmotic pressure, blood pressure, body fluid volume, and electrolytes are maintained by aldosterone hormone. Aldosterone not only retains the sodium but also promotes the excretion of K, potassium, which if accumulated, for example, if in one person adrenal cortex is damaged, zona glomerulosa is not present, and the potassium accumulates in the body, builds up in the body, and it is harmful. Removal of adrenal cortex or disease that prevent the secretion of aldosterone can kill a person. If adrenal cortex is removed, or any if any disease affects the adrenal cortex, if there is no secretion of aldosterone, okay, that can kill a person because heartbeat is also disturbed by because of hyperkalemia. Increased concentration of high concentration of calcium can affect the heart. You see here. Okay, we learned up to now. One pair of adrenal glands is present in human being. Where are they located? It is also called adrenal gland is composed of two types of tissue: peripheral tissue and centrally located tissue. This is the centrally located tissue. Is this one? This is the centrally located tissue. The centrally located tissue is called adrenal medulla. The peripheral one is called adrenal cortex. It is mesodermal. It is mesodermal in origin. It is ectodermal in origin. Ectodermal in origin. Adrenal. Now let us talk about this part. Adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex is the peripheral tissue of the differentiated three regions. What are the GFR? I told you glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis. Outer zone is glomerulosa, middle one is zona fasciculata, and inner one is reticularis. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones corticoids, commonly called corticoids or steroid hormone. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones commonly called corticoids or steroid hormones. Very important one. Adrenal cortex has three zones. This is what we call this zone glomerulosa, this zone fasciculata, this zone reticularis. Okay, what are the zones? Zona glomerulosa, fasciculata, reticularis. GFR. Mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, sex corticoid. Mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, sex corticoid stimulate masculinization, regulate glucose metabolism, regulate mineral balance. The chief one here, aldosterone, here cortisol, corticosterone, cortisol, cortisone, corticosterone. Next one here, the main androgen. Main androgen is dehydroepiandrosterone. 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 What about adrenal medulla? Adrenal medulla, okay, produce hormones to fight with stress. Stress hormones stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. The two hormones produced by adrenal medulla, which are called fight or flight hormone, epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay, that's all in this part. We learned some part of the adrenal gland.